what's up everyone? Today we're going to have a look at the future tense, right? I'll underline that for you as if you can't see it for some reason, right? And when I talk about the future tense in Spanish or English for that matter, it's will, right? And so I will run, he will jump, she will study, for example. So it's will with a verb, right? And so that's really, it's the future tense both in Spanish and in English. And so today I'm going to show you guys how to make the future tense in Spanish, of course. And so before I get into sort of the how-to, the mechanics of that, I do want to bring your attention to something I wrote right here. Ir más a más infinitivo, or ir plus a plus infinitive. Right? That's something we've already learned, and that is and still continues to be, but it's what we learned as a way to allude to the future. Right? It wasn't the formal future tense. And so, but again, I'm not showing you the future tense so you abandon that. I think they both serve a very good purpose in the language. And so I wrote a sentence up here. Let me see, let's find a black marker. I think I got it in this pocket. So I have here, voy a estudiar. Voy a estudiar. And that is saying, I am going to study. Right? Now, right below it, I have estudiaré, right, which is a use of the future tense. And so while this is saying I am going to study, this is saying I will study. So notice that difference there, and both bring value to the language. So it's not a matter of, okay, well, now we're learning the future tense, so just, abandon that altogether. No, absolutely not. Both, of course, are used quite readily. And so it's not a matter of getting rid of one and replacing it. It's not that. So, but I did want to bring your attention to sort of the difference between the two, because in much of the same way you might use one over the other in English, you're going to probably use that one in Spanish as well. So it's a very nice, cozy sort of leap from English to Spanish in that regard, right? In terms of when you would use ir plus a plus infinitive versus using the future tense. And so, but today, as I said, is about the future tense. So let's get into the future tense itself. Over here, I have a number of irregular verbs in the future tense, right? These are all, as you can see, irregulares, right, in the future tense. I'm gonna get the green marker now. So there it is. So these are irregulares in the future tense. Now here's something that's worth noting. The irregulars in the future tense will also be the very same irregulars in the conditional tense. And so we'll go over that when we get to the conditional tense. But it's sort of worth noting, it's sort of worth putting out there, right? And so there are others above and beyond this, but these are the most common, for sure. And so instead of having some huge list of irregulars up here, I did want to put some of the most common. And so here they are. But again, I'm going to come back to that because I don't want to start off with the irregulars. I'd rather start off with the regulars, right? And so here's how we do it, right? This is actually a pretty fun tense, as is the conditional, because it's really, you have the infinitive, which again is an unconjugated verb. I have one here, estudiar. I'll write another one over here, hablar, comer, vivir, right? So that way we have a little AR, ER, and IR. So I put hablar, comer, vivir, so to speak, to eat, to live, right? Just to have a little variety up there. And so you would take the infinitive of whatever verb. Of course, if it's an irregular, it's going to still end with R, but it's just going to be irregular. And then you would add these endings, right? And so you all are used to having multiple endings, and it would depend on whether or not it's an AR verb, an ER verb, or an IR verb. That's not the case for the future. So believe it or not, the future tense comes with one set of endings, irrespective of whether it's an AR, ER, IR verb. So that's pretty cool too. So while you do have some irregulars to remember, you only have one ending to remember. So you got this, right? And so anyways, just to sort of show you how this works, one, I have some examples. But I'm going to bring you back to these three that I wrote here, and we're going to change out marker colors. And so, for example, if I wanted to say, I will speak in Spanish, I would say, for example, this is the ending for I, right? E con acento, right? Then we have a con acento s, a con acento hemos, is, e con acento, as you can see there, a con acento, right? And so, depending on the subject of the sentence, I would just place one of these. I would attach it to the infinitive. I would just put it on the back end of the verb, of the infinitive. So let's go back to the example. I will speak in Spanish. And so we'll call this number 1, number 2, number 3, right? And so I want to say I will speak in Spanish. So I would just put hablaré, right? I'm attaching that ending right to the infinitive. En español. Hablaré en español. I will speak in Spanish. That is exactly what you're saying. Right now, just for fun, voy a hablar en español, right, is sort of bringing back this ir plus a plus infinitive. And again, just for the sake of showing you the example, this is saying I will speak in Spanish. This one is saying I am going to speak in Spanish. So again, notice that difference. And because today we're focusing on the future tense, I'm going to stop bringing up this ir más a más infinitivo, but I wanted you to see the difference. So number 2 here is comer, which is to eat. Let's just say we will eat sushi tonight, right? And I have, I might have put that, yeah. So we have eat lunch. So we're going to use comer here. We're going to use almorzar here. So that's going to allow us to use a couple of different verbs. So we will eat sushi tonight. And so we want to say we will eat, so we have to use nosotros, right? So we have to use hemos, right? And we're going to attach it right to the end. Sushi esta noche, right? So check this out, right? So we have comer, and then we attach hemos, so we get comeremos, right? And so again, we have an AR here, we put these endings, we have an ER here, put the very same ending. So the endings, again, these endings are going for all verb types. So again, hopefully that makes it easier to memorize as you start to learn the future tense. And so vivir, right, is to live. So let's say they will live in Miami next year, right, for example. So we'll just say, instead of writing, we'll just put ellos here, right? So hopefully you can see that. Right, so they, and then we need third person plural because it's ellos. So it's vivirán, right? Let's spell that correctly. In Miami, we'll just put el año que viene, right? They will live in Miami this coming year, right? And so this back part's not that important right now. What's most important is understanding this. So ellos vivirán, right? Vivirán. And notice we have an accent as well. So that's how that works. Again, you just attach these endings to all the different verb type, all the infinitives, and right, irrespective of verb type. Now, before we get into this, I want to come over here, right? And so we have these irregulares. So just check them out. This is just worth looking at, right? And so I have a couple, I'm integrating some of these irregulars into these sentences, and we'll see in a second. So we have venir, which becomes this, vend, right? I guess if we want to try to pronounce that, right? Tener, notice it has an R at the end. They all have R's at the end, of course, because that's how you build the future tense, right? Same is going to be for the conditional tense. It's going to be the infinitive plus a set of endings, a different set, of course, but and that's why I was sort of talking about those together at the beginning of class. All right, but anyways, they're going to all have an R. And so salir, saber, poner, poder, hacer, decir, satisfacer, which means to satisfy, haber, querer, hacer, valer, caber. Now, I'm going to run through those again, and just in case some of you are unfamiliar with these verbs, I'm going to tell you what they mean too. And so, venir is to come. Tener is to have, saber is to know, salir is to go out, right? I'm using that one over here. Poner is to put, like put something on a table, for example. Poder is can or able to. Hacer is to make or do, which I'm going to use over here as well. Caber is to fit, right? Like to fit into a drawer or fit into a car or something like that, right? Valer is to be worth. Hacer, well, I guess we don't need that over here because we've already used it. So anyways, but hacer, again, make or do, right? Querer is to like or love, right? And so it's where we get, like, for example, someone says te quiero mucho, I love you a lot, right? But it can also mean to want. So querer has a couple different meanings, but it's to want or it can be to like. So haber is to have. It's actually a synonym with tener. You find haber used as a helping verb with perfect tenses, and we'll get to that in a different lesson, of course. Satisfacer, right, is to satisfy, and then decir is to say or tell, right? And so, again, notice they all end with the letter R because that's how we build this future tense. We sort of build, like, our springboard is off of that R, right? So that's where it shares something in common with the regular infinitives, right? So the regular ones. So again, just case in point, right? Hablaré, right? Every infinitive is going to end with an R, right? And so hopefully that makes sense. So what I want to do is we're going to use green. So let's take a look at these sample sentences and translate them, right? And so I wanted to sort of put these future tense verbs. I didn't just want to do, for example, just hablaré or comeremos, but I want to put them into sort of a sentence form so you can see how they work, right? Sort of in like real sentences. So, for example, number one is I will eat lunch at 12 p.m. So our verb for to eat lunch is almorzar, right? I'm just going to go ahead and write it here. Almorzar, right? And so that is the verb actually to eat lunch, right? In and of itself. So I will eat lunch at 12 p.m. So remember, we have almorzar, so we have the infinitive. We got to add our ending, so we attach it to the infinitive, and we have to agree with yo, of course, because that's I. So it'd be almorzaré, right? Let's make that a different word. A las 12, or al mediodía if you want, right? So almorzaré a las 12 or almorzaré al mediodía. Either one is fine. Again, we want to hone in on the use of the future tense, but I want to case it inside sentences so you can see how it works. So let's move on here to number 2. They will go to the beach today. So to go is ir, right? And so we're just going to go ahead and write ir right here. Of course, if you want to use the subject, like if you want to say yo almorzaré, that's cool, that's fine. It's not necessary, and so that's why I'm sort of leaving it out, right? And so they will go to the beach today. So we have they and then will go, so they being third person plural. So irán, right? And that's an accent. So irán a la playa hoy, right? So they will go to the beach today. Irán a la playa hoy, right? So that's lowercase. Irán a la playa hoy. So let's move on to number 3. You, and I just have 2 there to say like it's informal. So you informal, right? You will buy the book. So to buy, right, is comprar, right? That's our infinitive, to buy. So comprar, and then we want to use to. So what's to? It's con acento ese, right? So comprarás el libro, right? No big deal. You will buy the book, right? Now, just for fun, as a bit of like a bonus, let's just say, for example, instead of saying you will buy the book, you just want to say you will buy it, right? And I mean, we know it's the book, so we want to convert that noun into a pronoun. So let's look at how these pronouns will work in a sentence as well. And so I'm just going to draw a little line up here. And so we just want to say you will buy it. And so we would put lo, right? So I'm going to put to, just so you know like where everything is placed in the sentence, right? So tu lo comprarás, right? And so this actually follows our rules, our pronoun rules, because it comes before the conjugated verb. Now, for some of you, you're like, that's not conjugated. You're just adding something to an unconjugated verb because that's what an infinitive is. Well, true, but we're technically conjugating the verb. Just because we're adding sort of a verb tense to the back of it, it's still technically conjugating. So because of that, and this is why I want to do this with you guys. So, tu lo comprarás. And so you would put that pronoun before comprarás. So, okay. We will run 5 miles later. Okay, so we know how to say to run. It's correr, right? So correr, so we know how to do that. So now we're going to say we will run, and so we'll use hemos. And then 5 millas más tarde, right? So that's how we say later. So más tarde, later. So correremos, that's a fun one. Correremos 5 millas más tarde, right? And so again, that's how we do this. These are totally regular. We haven't gotten any irregular verbs in the future yet. But let's start now, number 5, right? And so we have he will make the coffee. So to make is hacer, right? And so again, for some reason I decided to write it twice up here. Maybe it's just that good of a verb, right? It was worth putting up there twice. So anyway, so we have it right here, and it's an irregular, so it would be H-A-R, not hacer. Hacer, for example. You won't say hacerá el café. You don't do that, right? And so that didn't release that well. So, all right, so you would just do, because it's an irregular, we would do hará. And if we want to put L back there, we can, and which we'd have to make this lowercase, right? So, él hará el café. It's as simple as that, right? And so that sort of deviates from this easier approach to the future tense because it's an irregular. So it's not hacerá, it would be hará, right? Because it's irregular, and we have that right there. So number 6, she will go out at 7. Okay, so to go out, we have that over here, somewhere, right here, salir, to go out. So ella, we're going to put ella, right? Ella, right? And then it's not salir, it's not salirá. We don't do that. So we get saldrá, right? Ella saldrá a las 7, right? A las 7 de la noche, for example. So number 7, that's not the with 2 E's. That was just a squiggly H, right? And so number 7, we have these students will come to class tomorrow. So we have to come to class is venir, so they're coming to class. So we have los estudiantes, right? Plural, los estudiantes. Venir is at the top of the chart. Not that it's the most important, it was just the first one I wrote earlier. So los estudiantes, right? We have vendrán a clase mañana, right? So I'll finish that off for you guys, right? Again, all this in the back that's not the focus of today. But I want to case it inside a sentence, just really for fun, honestly. So, los estudiantes vendrán a clase mañana, right? So the students will come to class tomorrow. And so let's finish off with number 8. They will be at the house when I arrive. Now, this is a fun one, and I saved this for last because it's actually pairing the subjunctive with the future, right? And so I'm going to show you how that works, because if you remember with the subjunctive, a lot of times you're talking about things that haven't happened yet, right? But they may happen, or you're hoping them to happen. And so this is how the future can get paired with the subjunctive. And so I'm actually going to write this in red, and I'm going to write it right here. So I'm going to write number 8 right here, because I want to make sure I make space for it and you guys can see it. So they will be at the house when I arrive. So they will be, right? We use ser or estar, but because they're going to be at the house, they're going to be at a location, right? So it's feeling and location. So location is estar. So they will be at the house, right? Estarán en casa, you could say. They will be in-house, right? Which doesn't make sense in English, but in Spanish it does. Estarán en casa, right? Or if you want to say in the house, literally, you say en la casa. But you can say estarán en casa cuando llegue. You can say en cuanto llegue. There's other ways of doing it. But again, for today, the most important part of this is understanding the future tense. But I want you to see how estarán en casa cuando llegue. And so check this out. So I say when, cuando I arrive. Now I haven't, or in this sentence, I haven't arrived yet, right? But I'm en route, let's say. And so they will be home when I arrive. And so because I haven't arrived yet, I can't say cuando llego necessarily, right? Now you could say they're always at home when I arrive. But that's a whole different sentence structure. But because we're sort of making this sentence saying, well, they will be home when I arrive, and I wanted to show you how to pair that with the subjunctive, right? And so you would do the future tense here, right? Estarán en casa cuando, when, right? And so that event is sort of pending, if you will. And so estarán en casa cuando llegue, right? And so, again, that's an example of how you would pair the future tense with the subjunctive, right? Because if we're talking about the future and something that is, chances are going to occur but hasn't occurred, we can't use the indicative, we have to use the subjunctive. And so I saved that one for last. If that was a little bit confusing, that's okay, because most importantly, I wanted to run through sort of 1 through 7 and show how even with the irregulars, right, we can get it, we can dial it in. It's all good. So again, if it's not an irregular, as we have up here, right, sort of to bring this to a close, if it's not an irregular, it's just the infinitive of the verb with your endings. That's it, right? And so again, your translation is will. So I will eat lunch. They will go to the beach. You will buy, etc., right? And so hopefully that makes sense. And then again, just to sort of close with number 8. Number 8 was really sort of taking it next level and combining 2 different conjugations that we've been working on recently. So you have the future with the subjunctive. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. And again, this is the future tense, and best of luck using it.